understand stewardship this way, then it means that we can then interpret this topic that I'm looking at in another way. So I have another way of just looking at this topic now. And I will look at some keywords to make this. So it means that the topic we're looking at, auto-tone. The topic we're looking at then should look like employing the gifts, of God. Employing the gift of God in apprenticing, and I'm choosing this word very carefully, employing the gift of God in apprenticing in the roles of effective spiritual leadership. Employing the gifts of God in apprenticing, as in apprentices, in apprenticing the roles of effective leadership. I underlined some words there, and I will quickly share those words with you. Number one is employing the gifts. Employing the gifts. Then I also underline apprenticing. Apprenticing. Then I underline this phrase, roles of effective spiritual leadership. So the first thing is employing the gifts. There is the gift there. Apprenticing, what does that mean? And then what are the roles of effective spiritual leader? So that we can now employ the gift of God and apprentice. Let me talk about apprentices. We all know about apprentices. And that is the best way we learn. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering. But if we go to the mechanic, if I said, well, your car has a problem, and then one professor stands and say, bring it, let me examine. He say, hey, prof, this is not lecture. Let me go to mechanic. And that mechanic may not have more than primary school. But he's so good at the job. This professor has read all the books. He knew all the mechanics behind the function of the vehicle. But he cannot dismantle the vehicle and assemble it back. What is missing? He has not learned skills. What he had is what? Knowledge. Understanding. But skills is missing. And when we come to the place of honor with respect to fixing a vehicle, you just say, Prof, we respect you, sir. Don't worry. Let this boy do it. Not because you don't want to stay in problem. You know that Prof cannot handle it. Praise God. So, how do these apprentices now get so much skill that even the ivory tower do not have? And I like to make good illustration, This is going to come to fore as we go on in this discussion. If you ask, maybe the boy is Mokaila, you just come in, okay, I want this boy to learn mechanic. You say, okay, sit down there. Say, go and bring size 10. Without knowing how to use caliper, without knowing how to use micrometer screw gauge, the guy will bring size 12. The next thing will just knock his head. Is that size 12? By the time he goes through that 3 times, even if he wake up from sleep, he can pick size 10. But call a professor and say size 10. He'll be looking for where the inscription is, whether it is 10 or 12, before he knows that it is 10. So, which means it is by use. As that person began to utilize the gifts, he began to utilize the opportunity that he had, he began to acquire understanding. And that understanding goes beyond, formal knowledge. So we're going to then see, how can I become a leader by being an apprentice? Because you don't learn leadership by going to conferences. You don't become a leader by just, reading. You become a leader by practice. And that is what God is doing through you. You may never know what God has deposited in you. You don't even become a good leader, a spiritual leader, by going to seminary. It is by practice. Now, the last